I mean, it was like that. There was lots of scenes, but the scenes all overlapped. So you had a group over here who was really tight. Maybe you weren't as tight with them, but at night you'd bump into them. And the more you drink, it's like, maybe you had resentments, or maybe you didn't get along that well, but when you were drunk, you all got along and you saw each other enough where it was an extended family. And all those people who are legends now, they felt like legends then.
Really?
Fucking Dash and Ear Snot and Fanta. Like, it's like Harold Hunter. It's like they were special. There's something there. Enough for me where I was just kind of like, oh shit. I was drawn to them, They had an energy, and that energy translates now because it was there then. It's not, it's not based on nothing. They were larger than life characters already. I tell like a story of kind of having keepsakes. I've been a collector my whole life. I pick up something here, I pick up something there. And I picked up one of Dash's old Polaroids, and it was broken. He was like, it was just sitting there. He's like, oh, that's broken. I was like, can I get one? He gave it to me, and my wife made me throw it away. And I'm just like, but you knew there was something then about these guys where, they just shined. They still do. The ones who are still here,
So when you were shooting all these occurrences, did you feel like you were doing something, like you were recording a very significant time, or was it more like, I'm just living this right now, so it just kind of feels like normal?
I think on some level, I thought that it was important. I sensed something, enough where I was like, I wanted to document it in the same way that I pick up stuff. And it's like a drawing. Edwin's got I'm here with Ed, and, Ed leaves a drawing behind. I pick it up, It's like I get a feeling about something that it feels meaningful, and I kind of chase it in a way. So, in that moment, like I definitely was taking pictures as if, to me, they were stars. I felt really drawn to these people, and a lot of people who were around me. There was a real moment in time that was like beautiful, like so much going on.
No, it's crazy.
And, it would be, the morning you meet up, and then it's just one thing after another would just take you, you never knew where you were going to go. You never knew what was going to happen. And, so often we're all together and these things would just kind of happen. And I just was there with the camera,
No cell phone, right?
No. I mean, I'm sure I had an AT&T without a camera. Mm-hmm. I had a cell phone, but there was no camera attached to it.
Okay.
And in the beginning, there was no digital. Or, I mean, no inexpensive digital, I'd say.
So it was all just with the point and shoot. How'd you get the camera that you were using, and what camera was it?
First camera was my sister's camera. Because when I moved here, my sister was already working as a photographer. Her name was Danielle Levitt. I got her Canon AE1, so I had like a full like paparazzi rig. My first job in New York was shooting her Sunday style section. She had a column in the Post. And she had outgrown taking the photos herself. So I would walk around the streets taking street fashion photos. And I carried a giant Canon with a giant lens. And it had this an attachment for the flash that could go from vertical to horizontal. And that was my first camera. I walked around with that. Got laughed at. Deservedly. I walked into Max Fish, and I remember just getting roasted. Then, of course, it was the T4 era. So I had to have a T4. Went through those like crazy. Then the G2. Then I remember Dave Schubert telling me to buy a T2 and telling me that T2 was better than the T3 because you didn't have to turn off the flash. If you wanted the flash, you set it. And I had that camera, and that was my go-to for a long time.
Were people shooting as much as you were? Do you remember when you were out there, like other people shooting and they just maybe aren't posting their archives, or they keep them to themselves, or were you more just doing it as a thing than other people were?
I think it comes from just my neurotic energy. It's like I've thought about that a lot. Like I got a sense that I was always kind of on the outside just by nature. I don't fit in so easy, and I may have friends and maybe have people who love me and all that, but I always kind of feel like I'm a little outside of the circle. And having a camera kind of made it easier for me to be outside of the circle. In some way it gave me like a purpose rather than standing there and feeling weird, which I was weird, made people a little uncomfortable just by kind of my nature.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I could shoot and it would kind of in some way smooth it over within me. I don't know if it made anyone else happy, but it kind of calmed me in a way. So where everyone else was maybe in the moment hanging out, I was kind of on the sidelines, more watching and maybe participating by taking photos. So I think just on the nature, I mean, because of my nature, I amassed so many photos, you know, and you know, it took me a long time to realize that I had actually done anything. I felt like I was just kind of shooting photos with my friends, you know what I mean? And it seemed like it was disposable, where there were a lot of groups at that time, especially around A-Life, who were very serious and very much trying to make names, you know, people who were really trying to get their foot in and do real professional work. And I was never like them. So I think I benefit from just my weirdness in a way. Like, it's not easy being me, but looking back, I'm like, oh shit, okay, something came from it. Because I mean, it's like, I think of who the photographers that were hanging out. It was like Kenneth Capello, Angela Boatwright, Kai Regan, Josh Wildman. There was Chris Shot. There were so many photographers, but you know, first my job shooting I was shooting street fashion also. Sorry, I forgot about that. Because I was shooting for my sister, which eventually led for work for other magazines, Lucky and some other places. I always carried a camera. And because I was always out trying to get stuff for those outlets, you know, I'd be walking around constantly and bumping into people. And then I think because of that, I just got in the habit of always having a camera. And then because I was how I was just always shooting.
Mm-hmm. So when you moved here, it was just already you were going to shoot because you were getting the job from your sister?
It was, yeah, that was kind of like, she's like, come, you can work with me. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? But it's not like I was a photographer, you know.
Why do you think that you didn't try to like make a name and do all the whole thing, and you were just kind of just shooting maybe for yourself or because it was something that made you feel good? Why do you think you weren't like, yo, I should do this thing right now?
I tried.
Really?
It just didn't happen. Yeah. I you know, it's like the pressure of a professional shoot back then, you know, it's like I worked, you know, carrying, you know, pro photos, you know, go into a shoot with pro photos and a 4x5 camera, you know, it's like, and then the pressure of, you know, the producer being there and, you know, it wasn't for me. Where, you know, just on the fly, you know, being in the moment, I could never translate what I loved about taking photos, which is really just being in the moment and really feeling an energy and seeing something and trying to capture it. You know what I mean? It's like things start to unfold and you're just kind of like, oh shit. And it's like just being aware enough when the energy starts to pick up and light falls and things start to, it wasn't even say about light as much then, it's just movement. And when I had to kind of force it in a professional sense, I just couldn't do it.
Yeah.
You know, I think I was just made to shoot the way I've come to terms with, you know, that it's its own skill that maybe didn't lend itself to other sorts of more professional work for me.
Yeah, because what you're doing is not contrived at all.
I hope not. Thank you.
It's really just like what's going on.
And
in its purest sense. And you could kind of tell that, I know you're saying that you felt like an outsider more, but you could tell like whoever shot this was really a part of this, which is cool. That's what's so cool about it, because you see this collection and you feel like you actually get an inside glimpse. And a lot of the photos like I didn't even know that you shot them. I like some of them I've seen for a while, and I feel like they've circulated on big publications and stuff. And then I'm like, oh snap, you shot that. That's fucking wild. That's
I love that.
Crazy. You know?
Yeah, thank you.
Actually later, if it's cool with you, I want to go through some photos.
Sure.
And you like just to see what went down when you were shooting them and stuff.
I have such vivid memories about most of the moments, like, cause I've looked at these photos for so long, you know, man, it makes me so happy.
Okay, so you had these photos and you kept them to yourself.
Not intentionally.
Yeah.
You know, my wife and I became partners in a restaurant in around 2007. We opened. By that point, I kind of realized that photography wasn't going to get me any jobs. You know, I had everything was going digital. I'm not someone who can kind of adapt. And I really saw my time as a photographer as kind of time of failure, something that I didn't, you know, didn't really get to where I wanted to be. And I had bins of 4x6s from all the years. Because back then, you know, you'd go to, when we went to Luster, you know, from the day Luster opened, we were going to Luster. So you go, you drop off your film. And I think maybe like pre-scanning, you know, you'd get the 4x6s. And so I have, you know, just plastic bins full of them. And at some point, like for a long time, I didn't want to look at them. You know, I kind of was like, I'm just, you know, all I got for all these years is just pictures of my friends and party photography, because I did a lot of party photography. I was kind of embarrassed. And at some point, I just kind of, you know, dove into it. It was like maybe around COVID. I'm guessing it was the beginning of COVID. Something happened, and I was like, I'm going to just look at these. And I started to look at them, and I looked at them with a fresh eye, because at the time, you know, my sense of what I needed to do to be a photographer was based on, you know, all this arty-farty shit, all this stuff that wasn't natural to me. Like, and I would, you know, try and make photographs that were kind of like, you know, kind of what I thought was supposed to be a photograph, and it didn't work. You know, I couldn't try to do it. And so I looked at the photos that I had, but now with time, and I started to see, especially looking at so many of them, because there's just thousands of them. I could kind of see what I was doing, but not aware of. And I was able to really kind of look at it in a new light and appreciate what I had and what I had captured. And not necessarily be so hard on myself. You know, I was like, oh shit, okay, there's something here. And the minute that I realized that, I was like, oh fuck. I was like, I got, you know, a pretty good archive, and there's some amazing photos. I surprised myself, because, you know, I was a hack. You know what I mean? And it was, you know, a, you know, great surprise. I was just like, man, all right. You know, kind of like, yeah, oh shit, I feel good. This stuff, there's something here. And then to start putting stuff out and get a response, you know, it's like, oh, it just validated me. It took away those feelings of kind of wasted years and failure. And, you know, it's like, and then now, like, you know, I feel really good about the time that I spent. I feel lucky, and I feel, you know, gifted something that I couldn't see at the time, and how beautiful to get the gift later. You know what I mean? You know, if I didn't had any success then, I would have squandered it. You know, like I was, you know, messed up kid. I'm not a kid. I was in my 20s. I was a messed up young adult, trying to figure out how to just be in the world and not having an easy time of it. So to get it now, you know, it's such a blessing.
Yeah. What was the first photo that you posted, or was it a group of them, and what was the reaction like?
It took a good month before it caught on, but I had done, well, first what I did was during COVID, I went through and I picked a bunch of photos, and I did like a summer series. Just kind of like, I was trying, because we're all stuck inside, you know, everything's fucked up. And I just remember that I was trying to get the feel of a summer day, like when you would start at Tompkins, and then the day would just progressively get better and better and more interesting. And like a magnet, you'd pick up people. You know, it's like you go here, pick up people along the way that randomly are walking and part of your group, but didn't realize that they're going to get sucked into this. And then it would just be, you know, the sun's coming down in summer. It's that feel. And the night just kind of, it's just better and better and better. And it just feels like there's some hand kind of pushing you along. And I was like, I want to feel that, because I was, you know, I was just fucked up from being inside. You know, I have kids. We're stuck inside all together with, you know, 4 of us, and just trying to adapt, and everyone's feeling something and acting out and being weird. And people responded instantly. Like all of our friends kind of, it was like we were all waiting for something, and it just felt so good. And then that kind of, I did a couple more. And then it just kind of made me think, I was like, because I have my, the only outlet I have is Instagram, you know, or at least back then, that's the only thing. It was like, so I did those, and then I was like, well, shit, I got to make it my own account. And then I think the first one I put up is just a couch. I mean, a love seat with a fuckface Sace tag on it. And no one, you know, it's like 3 people saw it. Still to this day, it still only has like 3 people. Like, and then I was like, all right, well, and I just kept going. And then at some point, just kind of, it was like people just were like, oh, and it was like our friends, you know, it's like the group that was there, you know, we're all older, we've all kind of spread out, but you know, it's like you get a little older and it's like you want to feel like you're still part of something, you know, maybe it's all changed, but you have, you know, that meant something, and everyone kind of just woke up and chimed in, and it just kind of became this real beautiful thing for me, at least, of communicating with all these people and kind of remembering, I guess, that time, because it had been, you know, a good amount of time had passed. I mean, this was, you know, 21 maybe, you know, and, you know, most of the photos, you know, from the early 2000s, you know.
How does it make you think? How does it make you feel about time as a thing? I talked to my friend Wes, who also shoots photos, and that's like his main passion. And he had an interesting perspective on time and the passing of time and like capturing a moment in time. And it makes me think, because like when I was like 15, 16, I bought just like a shitty camera just to film me and my homies skating. And then naturally I started like shooting photos of them just because I'm around them. And I posted it onto my YouTube. It's all private now. But then I look back and I'm like, damn, we really have this document of us at 15, and it's pretty deep. Like there's like videos that are just like an hour long of us bullshitting. And that's, you know, that's what you have to a much larger degree. And it's like as time passes, you don't even realize like day by day there's like small changes happening. Then like even just like 6-7 years go by. Like I've been friends with him for like maybe 7 years now, and so much shit has changed. And I'm like, how the fuck did any of that happen? How do you feel about?
I feel the same. I mean, like to go from your early 20s, mid 20s to now I'm 50, like there was a time where I felt like we were in the middle of it all. You know what I mean? It really felt like that. And we were all kind of, you know, it's like it's a bubble in a sense. It's like you're all kind of there together and you all feel special. And then pretty soon people start moving away, people die. You know, it's like I remember I had a job where I could work 2 days a week. That job ended. And all of a sudden I had to struggle to pay. You know what I mean? I was like, okay, I got to work more. I have to, you know, do a job I don't like as much. Then people, you know, I remember there was a time when everybody moved to LA. So it's like this scene that kind of pumped you up a little bit was gone. Then there's, you know, pretty quickly the next generation comes in and they're doing shit that's just as fun, but you're not part of it. And they're not looking at you like you're anything special. If you haven't done something for them to know you, then you just kind of feel old. And you're not old, but you're just like, and you're kind of like, damn, all right, didn't know how good I had it. You know, moving to New York was definitely like, I feel like people who moved here from somewhere else, especially, you know, you had a sense of wanting to be special or something. There was something there that drew you here, because it's not easy here, but like you braved the winter, you did all these things to have that feeling. And then when you're no longer kind of part of that thing that made you feel like special, I guess, or whatever, like it's hard. You're just like, oh shit. But then the thing that I think is beautiful is that like you need to lose all that in a way to appreciate it. You know what I mean? It's not given to you. It's not owed to you. And in some way, by kind of going through, and there was a lot of years, you know, my wife and I have a restaurant. We were sweat equity partners, working our asses off, you know, lived through 2008, the whole market crashed. Restaurant basically struggled for years after that. Luckily, it's still there. But, you know, we're living hand to mouth, really struggling, and in a world that was different than kind of what we had started. But I think it's good for you. And I definitely think it was good for me. I don't think I could have ever approached, you know, what I had without going through so much of that. And, you know, you get maybe it's a little jealous at first that you're not kind of like part of something. You want people to be like, oh man, you've been here for a long time. They don't care, you know. But then, you know, you stick around long enough and then it's like, look, you get, you know, the opportunity to do other things. And I appreciate it so much more now than I did then, you know. Happier now than I was then. I look back on those, you know, so much love. Like those photos now give me so much joy, where maybe in the past, you know, certain people I would have fought with or had problems with. There's plenty of people that I rubbed the wrong way. And, you know, it's like I had resentments. People, you know, did shit that made people, you know, mad at me. And, you know, plenty of that stuff. But now I can look back at all of it with so much love and really value that time, because it was such an amazing time. And I'm sure everybody gets their moment. But for me, man, I mean, I just feel so lucky to have come here when I did and just fallen in with the group that I did and have the experiences. It was, you know, it was amazing.
Yeah, when I look at your photos, I just get this sense of just like maximum freedom.
Yeah.
That's kind of the sense I get. Like I see the photo of, there was one of like, I think it's Dill on a bike and the Gons is like riding it. And they're just like, you could tell like they don't give a fuck about anything. It's just like, they're just like it's the like, not a care in the world. We're chilling hard right now.
Yeah.
Or there's one of like Kunle hitting up, and there's a huge crowd of people, and he's the only one hitting up, you know, above everybody, and it's just like,
I was working. That wasn't like me, like I was at the bar serving people, and he just stood up and did it, and I was like, oh shit. I always have my camera, so it was like, snap. I took 2 shots, and I have one that I don't like as much because I think it's how the people are moving in front, and then that one. It was like total freedom and kind of, in a sense, like, you know, definitely not self-conscious. You know, it's like, sorry. Go on.
Yeah. No, you were just like, oh shit, that's fucking crazy.
It's like, just like, oh my God, yeah. And then I had to think all night, is my boss going to kill me? And I always tell people, like, that tag, like, because I don't know if you saw photos of the bar later, the bar got destroyed, you know. But because my boss didn't call me the next morning, and he called me every morning when something went wrong, I'd fall asleep. First thing I'd do, look at my fucking AT&T phone. And if I had a message from him, it was like, oh, fuck. And it'd just be like, you motherfucker, blah, blah, blah. And he didn't say anything. And I was like, oh, shit. And then so it was kind of open season. And then I didn't have to stop anybody. But yeah, there was a lot of freedom. And one thing that I was thinking about, I was actually just telling Edwin this, like, it was post 9/11. You know, no one, I don't think any of us were in therapy, you know what I mean? And we were definitely dealing with kind of whatever it was we dealt with. You know, we're all here for that. And maybe in some way, and I know for me, I can speak for me only, but, you know, I kind of thought the world was going to end. You know, it was like, oh, all right, well, fuck it. You know, there was a lot of that. And maybe we weren't thinking about it in those terms. But I think things got amped up, and we had each other, and you know, it's like good or bad, we you know, we enabled each other, I guess, in some way, and it was like, you know, but these things would happen that were so great, but then also there was shitty things that happened too, like, but it, you know, it was like constantly things like that.